Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to The Average Fisherman, everybody. So, we have excessive heat warnings and 50 to 70% chance of rain all this week. So, I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to talk to you guys about my number one fishing lure when it comes to bass fishing and why and all about this lure. So, everything you wanted to know about this particular lure, I almost said it and gave it away, is on this episode today. So, what is this lure? Everybody here should know what my favorite bass fishing lure is. Bam! The Powerbait Pit Boss 4-incher and Bama Bug. So, why do I love this lure so much? Very simple. It catches a hell of a lot of fish and it does it reliably. So, this is a soft plastic lure that was once marketed under the Havoc name. So, it used to be the Havoc Pit Boss. It was a Skeet Reese Havoc Pit Boss. Then they discontinued the Havoc line of plastics, and now they converted it over to the Powerbait line. So it has the addition of that Powerbait scent, which to me kind of smells soapy and slightly fishy, but my wife really hates these. As soon as I open a package, she comments on how bad they smell. But to me, these smell kind of soapy. Now, I'll get into different colors and stuff like that in a bit, but not all of them smell this way, which is odd, and I'm not sure really why. But I tell my wife all the time, I love the smell of Powerbait in the morning. It smells like victory, to quote a famous movie line. So, one of the things that I do when I fish this lure that I've not seen most other people do is I rig this upside down. And I'll show you a close-up real quick of how it's intended to be fished is the other way around, where the hook point comes out this way and lays in this little slot here. This little slot is actually made to hold your hook point. I rig it so that my hook point is on this ribbed bottom section. This is just intended to provide some, movement in the water when the lure is being pulled through. But this is how I rig mine. So this side is up. Okay, and let me show you why. Okay, there's a razor sharp hook in here, and you can see I'm not being gentle with how I move my finger. So the reason I do it that way is for that reason. This makes it about as weedless as possible, but when a bass bites it, watch what happens. Boom, there's your hook point. This thing has resulted, if I want to be honest about it, in realistically a 90 to 95% bite to hookup ratio. Very rare that I get a bite from a largemouth bass and it doesn't end up with a fish on the bank or in the boat for me when I rig it this way, okay? So I have no problems with hookups or anything. Most of the time I'm fishing it with a pegged 1/8 ounce tungsten weight right here. If I'm fishing in deeper waters, I'll move up to like a 3/16, and even more rare than that, if I'm punching heavy cover or something like that, I'll go up to like a 1/2 ounce, but that's extraordinarily rare for me. Most of the time, if I'm fishing heavy lilies, what I prefer to do is throw this up onto the lilies and then drag it off in between the gaps. And I've had a lot of success doing that. So, the other color of this lure, like I said, this is Bama Bug, is the green pumpkin. I like that one as well, but now I'm not sure the difference because supposedly the Powerbait Pit Boss is a PVC and resin soft plastic bait, just like any other soft plastic bait, like brush hog or anything else that's made out of PVC plastic, but it's infused with this Berkley Powerbait scent formula. Do I think that works? Yeah, to some degree. I think anything that smells to a fish more lifelike than just a chunk of plastic will make them want to bite it more or hold on a little bit longer. And it definitely doesn't smell like your standard pack of soft plastics when you open them up. Now, do I buy this it makes them hold on 18 times longer thing? You know what I'm saying? But it does smell more natural than unscented plastics, put it that way. The green pumpkin color, as I commented in the last pond fishing video that you guys have seen, is different, and I'm not sure why. It just has to be between the colors, or I don't know if it's an intentional thing from Berkley. I've never been able to get a definitive answer from them on this, but for some reason, the solid green pumpkin ones are a little bit softer, and they have a different smell. So the smell of this, like I said, is soapy, kind of with like a slight fishy twinge underneath of it, whereas the solid green pumpkin ones smell like fishy dog food. It's the best way that I can describe it. But as you notice, these are green pumpkin. It's green pumpkin mixed with June bug. So it's June bug and green pumpkin. So I'm not sure why they have this texture and or smell difference, but whatever, they work. The reason I love this bait so much is because of its versatility. Again, as I stated in the last video, I use it 3 different ways. As a bottom contact lure, Texas rig in the place of like a Senko or something like that. I throw it out, bouncing off the bottom. I use it as a mid-column swim bait, just simply pulling it through the water column like any other swim bait. And I use it as a topwater bait, as you saw in the video, and you can even hear it. Those little outside legs, these on the outside specifically, kind of alternately kick the top of the water like this and slap it, and that was getting me those bites. When you pull it through the water like a swim bait, those little legs do the same thing. They kind of alternately swim like this and draw in the strikes. And when you're fishing at Texas rig off the bottom, you pull it up and it falls down and those little legs kick. This is a very effective bait, guys. Like I keep saying over and over, if I'm bass fishing, there is always one lure that you will find in my kayak or boat when I'm bass fishing, and it's a 4-inch Pit Boss. I will never go bass fishing without one of these tied on, and 99% of the time I'm going to fish this until I figure the fish out. And then I may switch over to something else if I figure out like I have another lure that may be more effective on that particular day. But my number one bass fishing confidence lure is the 4-inch Powerbait Pit Boss in Bama Bug Color. It's a super effective lure. It's super versatile. And if you can't find the fish using this, that means they're not there, okay? I have never been fishing in a circumstance where I couldn't get at least one on one of these suckers, and it's extraordinarily rare for me to strike out. And using it upside down like this provides me the best way of fishing. And like I said, as you can see, it doesn't take much pressure. Hook pops right out and you end up with that fish, but at the same time, pulling it over branches or logs and stuff like that when it's like this, not a problem as far as getting stuck. See? As long as you're not horsing it in like that, you're not going to get a snag. Now, will it collect grass and stuff like that? Yeah, it will. It'll collect it right here where the hook goes into the body. It'll collect it on the weight just like any other Texas rig. But it's about as weedless, like I said, as it gets. I fish this 99.99% of the time on a bait cast setup using 20-pound Hercules No Fade 8-strand braid with a 1/8 ounce pegged tungsten weight here on a 3/0 Gamakatsu EWG. And I'll show you guys the hook that I use here. I'm just going to tear it out because I'm not going to use this bait. That is the hook that I like to use on it the most. This is a 3/0 thin wire EWG hook from Gamakatsu. I do not like the Superline hooks. I feel that it's too big. And with this thin wire hook, it takes very little pressure to penetrate a bass's upper lip, which is where you normally will catch them when you fish with a Pit Boss. All it takes is a simple lift of the rod and you got yourself a fish. And I've found that over thousands of fish that I've caught using this lure, they really like this thing. Most of the hits that I've gotten on this, probably 75% of the hits that I've gotten on a Powerbait Pit Boss, were not just simple tap taps, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like when you're worm fishing, you'll feel like a little tap tap. They hammer this thing. 90% of the time when you catch a bass on this, you're gonna know immediately. And 75% of the time, it's gonna be an absolute hammer. They're gonna grab this thing and you will feel the rod tip go down. You simply lift back up against the pressure, you got yourself a fish. So that is the reason why I love the Powerbait Pit Boss and why I tell everybody this is my standard bass fishing lure. If I'm going bass fishing, this is the lure that you can count on me throwing and seeing on video at least some part of the time because I am going to use a Pit Boss. These things have caught me fish in the dead of the summer, in the dead of the winter. They've caught them during pre-spawn and spawn and post-spawn. I've caught fish 12 months out of the year using a Powerbait Pit Boss, and there's little reason for me, or I can't think of one, that I would stop using it and switch to something else because these things, they're fairly inexpensive. I think since the pandemic, the price has gone up a little bit. They used to be $4.95 a pack. Now I think they're $6 something, or maybe even $7. But I'm going to tell you guys, I don't care because I'm still buying packs of Powerbait Pit Bosses because they catch fish. And they're fairly durable, especially in this color. Like I said again, the green pumpkin ones, for some reason, the formulation is different despite the fact that this is half green pumpkin. they're a little softer and you can't catch as many fish on each one, but it's still worth it because they're that good. Anybody who says otherwise obviously hasn't tried one of these damn things, because these catch fish. And they catch them under a lot of circumstances, including adverse circumstances. You throw this up near a fish and you start pulling it around. If they're in the mood to eat anything at all, they will eat one of these. So go out, get a pack, give them a try, and you will see in short order why this is my favorite bass fishing lure of all time. Tight lines, my friends.